Hello, today's recipe is going to be Pad Thai Kung, which is Pad Thai noodles with prawns. It's kind of a long video because I go through all the steps quite carefully, but you should be well equipped to make what I consider to be a very, very good Pad Thai at the end of it. So stick with it and see how you go. Cheers. Let's start with the noodles, shall we? Medium-sized rice stick noodles are pretty standard for Pad Thai. I find the smaller size of the rice stick noodles or even glass noodles to be far more interesting, but try them all and see which one you prefer and just go with that. To prepare the noodles, you just have to soak them in room temperature water for around 40 minutes, possibly a little less. If you find the noodles are breaking up when you're frying them, it's because they've been soaked too long, so just adjust it the next time you make it. Step 1 of making Pad Thai sauce is making the tamarind paste or tamarind water. You can buy this in a jar from the supermarket, but it will not be as good as if you make it yourself. And as you're about to see, it's dead easy, so why wouldn't you? All you really need to do is break up some tamarind, chuck it in a bowl, pour hot water over the top at a ratio of about 3 parts water to 1 part tamarind, a little bit less maybe. And while you're letting it sit for 20 minutes to an hour, you can prep the other ingredients. The first one's fish sauce. And the second and last one is coconut palm sugar. You can use white sugar in a pinch, but it just won't be as complex when you go to make the caramel. Once your 20 minutes is up, get your hands in there and just mash it all together until it becomes quite a thick paste. And all you need to do then is pass it through a sieve and you have a nice tamarind paste at the end of it. A bit like this. If it's too thick, you just loosen it up with a little bit of water. There we go, that's the consistency I like. And now we move on to making the caramel. It's not necessary to make a caramel, you can just simply melt the sugar, but again, why wouldn't you? You're making caramel, it's fun. Let the sugar melt over a medium-high heat, and as soon as it turns a sort of a deep honey colour like that, add some water, then follow with the fish sauce and your tamarind paste. And just stir to combine, and once it's all nice and thick and homogeneous, give it a taste to see if the balance is right, and if it is, it's time to make Pad Thai. I think we should begin by getting all of the gang together, starting with our lovely hot caramel Pad Thai sauce, and then popping back over to the wok for just a little minute so we can heat up some oil and throw in some lovely dried shrimp. And you can soak these guys in water to soften them up, but I prefer them crispy crunchy in my Pad Thai. Hell, you can leave them out if you want to, but they are a bit of a Pad Thai trademark. Anyway, there we go, done. Next, fresh prawns. Chuck them in the same wok. I just want to get a little bit of colour on them, nice little sear. I want to make a little bit of fire because it looks cool. Kill the heat and add just the tiniest bit of Pad Thai sauce. Mix it through, get a little bit of flavour on the outside of those babies. You don't want to overcook them because they're going back into the dish towards the end. So just a couple of tosses and you're pretty much done. That's it. There we go. Next step is to bash some things together with 2 rocks, starting with dry roasted peanuts. Pound them into a reasonably fine grind like that. And then move on to some dry roasted chilies. I'll have some instructional videos on how to make both of those on the YouTube channel somewhere. Back to the chilies now. I like to leave them kind of rough and pretty rustic, but you grind them how you like them. Last but not least, in the mortar and pestle, garlic. I'll just pound that in the same mortar and pestle. I'll go red from the chilies, but it doesn't really matter. You can have chili in the dish anyway. That's it. Done. Next up, hard pressed tofu. We're just going to slice that in half and then into battens. The idea of this style of dish is that everything should be able to fit on 1 spoonful, so you get a full range of taste with every mouthful. Okay, that's the tofu done. Now let's slice up a shallot into thin strips. Cut from north to south, like that. Fan across that way, and then just slice the root off to release all of the strips, and then give it a press down with a knife to break them apart. Et voila! The sweet preserved radish is a signature flavour in Pad Thai. You should really try and get it if you can. Easily found at Asian markets or grocers, or even online. If you can't get it, you can't get it. That's fine. It'll still taste great. These little green doodads here, garlic chives. Again, try and get these. They're a signature flavour for Pad Thai. This, I assume you know what it is. It's a lime. You just want 2 cheeks. You'll need a couple of bum nuts from a chicken or a duck, and some lovely fresh bean sprouts, and finally the soaked noodles. I'm now proud to announce that it's time to fire up the wok and begin cooking. Here we go. Add a generous splash of oil, followed by the shallots. And you want to get a bit of colour on the shallots, so fry them for a minute or 2 before adding the next ingredient, which is the garlic, which only needs a couple of seconds before you add the next thing, the tofu. Stir fry the tofu to coat, and then add your radish. Repeat. Once the radish has sort of picked up a bit of colour and warmth, throw in your baby shrimp. They're already cooked, so a few seconds later, just chuck in your wet noodles and give it all a toss to combine. You're basically going to let the noodles sort of cook in the pan so they start to soften. Once the noodles start to soften, then we can think about introducing the sauce. We're not quite there yet. You can see the colour going into the strands now. You can see that's them soaking up the oil, which is a good thing because that stops them from sticking to the pan. Okay, now it's time for the sauce. Pour it around the outside, not in the middle, all over the noodles, and just toss and stir to combine. And take your time. Basically, you're waiting for the noodles to sort of soak up that sauce so you don't have a wet, sugary mess in the bottom of the pan. The oil that you use is helping you to not burn the sugar whilst it's soaking into the noodle strands. It takes a bit of practice to get it right, and if you're not particularly wok handy, shall we say, just leave the fresh prawns out and make it without them. It's still delicious, and that way it doesn't cost you a fortune to learn, you know. And once you've nailed it, hang on, let me check to see if I've nailed this one. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, well yeah, once you've nailed it, you can add any protein you like. Speaking of protein, add a splash of oil and then throw your eggs in. There we go. I'm going to spread them out in the wok a little bit so they sort of cling to the surface and start to cook a little bit. That's about enough. I don't want them to be too cooked. Then I just tip the noodles on top of the eggs and then scramble them in. You don't want the eggs to be too set at this point because otherwise you'll end up with eggs separate from your noodles. You kind of want it all to be bound together. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Time for the prawns. There we go. Chuck in the chives, your peanuts and your chilies. Throw in the bean sprouts. And basically we're just going to stir this all to combine, and once I'm satisfied with how combined it is and whether it's dry enough or it needs a little bit more moisture, will be known in about 5 seconds. A little bit more moisture was the way to go for this one. Just give it one last toss to make sure everything is combined, and that's pretty much it. That's a pad thai. Look at that. Boom. Let's just chuck that on a plate and see how it looks, eh? Oh yeah, it's alright. Just make 2 big mounds in the centre of a large plate. That's always good because you're going to dress the outside of the plate somewhat with your garlic chives, your wedges of lime, obviously your sprinkles of peanuts. There we go. Finish it off with a little bit of your dry roasted chilli and put a little crown of bean sprouts on top. And that there is pad thai. Here's a nice fancy photo of what we just cooked, and this is the recipe. Oh, hi. One last thing before I go. I really do hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope that you make this pad thai and that you really enjoy eating it because it's fucking delicious and you made it yourself. So go forth, and that is all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.